All right, welcome everyone to the panel discussion. And in this session, we have with us Rachel Huang, Andy Galloway, and Yasmin Grigaliunas. I'm sorry if I pronounced your names incorrectly. We'll be waiting for Andy to join in shortly. And in the meantime, I'll introduce you all to the session and to our audience so that you all get familiar with each other and what this session is all about. So in this section, we'll be discovering the idea of leadership through social innovation and entrepreneurship. This session is brought to us by the UQ Ventures team through a panel discussion with inspirational speakers who have been cornerstones in establishing their own social enterprise, which will definitely inspire all of us to realize how we can have real world impact through social innovation. And in this panel, we have, as I've already mentioned, Rachel, Yasmin, and Andy. Rachel is a chief student entrepreneur at UQ Ventures and will be the moderator for this session. And she'll also provide us with a short welcome as well as a short presentation about her journey of founding PowerSphere. Yasmin is the CEO and co-founder of world's biggest garage sale and is an absolute superstar in turning circular economy aspirations into reality, while at the same time providing social good. And Andy is the CEO at YUMM Confectionery and is very passionate about businesses that create social impact and social capital. And he firmly believes that social enterprise will change the world for good. I'm really thankful to all of you for sparing your valuable time to share your experience of social entrepreneurship through this panel. And now I will hand this over to Rachel.
Amazing, thank you. My name is Rachel and I'm the Chief Student Entrepreneur at UQ this year. So I started my entrepreneurship journey in my first year of my undergraduate degree when I started PowerSphere, which was my first startup company. At PowerSphere, we made an omnidirectional wind turbine that can capture wind from every direction at the same time. So the application for that is to use wind turbines on side of high-rise buildings where you don't have enough roof space for other renewable energy sources like solar panels. So that's a little bit of brief history of me and my startup company. So I'm currently now in my 4th year of chemical engineering and science degree. I'm also getting very involved with quite a few other projects at the same time. I don't want to take too much time from our amazing panelists. So I'm going to be the moderator for this session. I'm going to start the question session with a bit of questions that I prepared for our panelists, but I believe the questions are still open for our attendees to send it through the Q&A and the chat, and I will bring them up during our panel session. Now, I guess I'll let Yasmin introduce herself.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here. I will just start my screen share so that everything works okay at this end. And I do want to just say a big thank you. I'm coming from Turrbal and Yugara country here, and I'm very grateful to be presenting to everybody today. And I suppose in a lot of ways, you know, I hear words like, you know, amazing and killing it and all those sorts of things. But what I want to make sure that I provide today is a very what we would call real experience of social enterprise and, well, effectively for us, circular economy as a social enterprise as well. So it's wonderful to be here, and I really do want to talk a lot today about impact that matters and through real innovation, but also it says disruption, but I like to use the word eruption. So first of all, excuse all the noise in the background. I am presenting today from our circular economy precinct here in Morningside, the first of its kind in this country, and we opened just over a year ago, literally the week COVID shut the world down. We had signed our lease and ready to move in to hold all of these amazing events that we were really catalysing and holding in terms of the world's biggest garage sale. And when COVID shut us down, we had that moment of pause and that moment of, oh my goodness, what do we do next? And so this is us, the world's biggest garage sale. We are a circular economy enterprise activating dormant goods for good for the very significant $4.5 trillion circular economy. What does it all even mean when you use those pitching words and you have to present to people? Let me tell you, as a social enterprise, you already don't fit. So my advice is always to just be, I always say brave, be raw, authentic. So being raw, authentic and vulnerable every single day. And that is what you'll get from me. I'm very much, under the hood is where all the magic happens. And we like to just share the realities of what business is like. So while people say you're killing it, I often think, oh my gosh, if only they knew how on the verge of killing me this enterprise is at times. And it's just the authentic and honest and open, transparent operation of an enterprise that's been going now for since 2017 officially. But we started off as a garage sale, a humble old garage sale back in 2013 in order to raise money for charity. And at the time, I really didn't understand what our business plan was or even know what it would be. We were just having a garage sale to raise money for charity. And little did I know on that day that we unlocked this significant opportunity for the business, but also for community. So people, planet, purpose, we talk about it a lot. And while we've activated and mobilized and diverted millions of kilos of product, you can see there on the planet side of statistics there, we really have significantly connected people. And people is often first. That's what we say first, people, planet, purpose. But on this slide, people's in the middle, because without people, there is actually no business. A year ago when we moved in here, we had 6 staff and lofty goals to grow this precinct and the world's biggest garage sale concept at a much larger level. But when the business model needed to be adjusted and our strategic markers of what we wanted to do in the future had to come significantly forward, we really did dig deep, and it has been a lot of tunnel boring and difficult, challenging times over the last year and a bit. And, on the verge of lockdown happened when we moved in, and ironically lockdown is upon us again today. Our business can't be done remotely in a lot of ways because we reuse, renew, repurpose, remodel, remanufacture, and ultimately re-commerce materials that might otherwise be wasted and sitting idle. And again, what does that all even mean? At the core of everything we do, we are an enterprise that wants to connect community, to connect people with products, not for sale, but for revitalization. And one of our I guess, mantras is we're in the business of building people, and people build our business. So I make no apologies. I'm quite a driven, assertive, very passionate leader. I either energize or exhaust people. There's not usually an in-between. What you see is what you get, and this is the real. And I'll talk about that a lot throughout my presentation today. Impact that matters, the drive, the passion, the energy, the abundant endurance comes from begin with the end in mind. Like, what we do today is not what our business is all about. It just happens to be what we're doing today. And the world's biggest garage sale is not even representative as a brand name anymore for the work we do. We have evolved so much, and we saw that years ago, and you'll see us continue to evolve over the next few years. But we have 33 staff now on the books. 33. We had 6 a year ago. How did we do it? With a lot of crazy and a lot of commitment to the core at the heart of our organization. And you'll see, I think there's a big love heart logo. That's not fake or contrived. There is actually love at the center and core of our business. Love is a value of myself and the business. And the vision is so embedded within our essence that some days when it's really hard and you just want to walk away, you can't, because you're building something bigger than you. And I think a social enterprise that truly connects to the core is so much more than a business. And that's why, like, I even cringe at times when people call me a social entrepreneur, because I'm like, I feel like it diminishes the business in a lot of ways, because we are both commercial and community. And those bipolar forces are almost not apparent as a centralized capability. And I don't want to go too deep into that. I'm happy to have offline conversations with anybody that has questions after, but definitely challenge this in the question time today. An entrepreneur mindset, and ignore those beeps. It's literally one of our partners, and I want to talk to you about partners pinging me right now. But an entrepreneurial mindset is truly a growth mindset. I want to give you some practical things today. I don't say not, can't, won't, might, try. They're words that just don't exist in my philosophy as a human. The way I am today is how I've been for 25 years. I won't burn out, I burn bright, and I'm really comfortable owning my velocity and what my capabilities are as a leader, and then surrounding myself with people and drawing on the expertise of people who are strong where I am not. And I don't sit in the, woe is me, I feel sorry for me, things are tough in my life mindset, because it's just going to stop me from being able to spend the time driving what I can drive, controlling what I can control. And I say to my team, if it's something you can't control, don't let it spin you out of control. I can't control things that happen to me every day. I can't control the weather and the business slows when it rains. I can't control, the truck not turning up on time. I can't control someone turning up at 5:25 to unload pallets of product when my team are about to clock off. The things you can control is really just one thing. You can control this, your mind. And it's ultimately going to come down to a growth mindset. Making it or breaking it is down to your growth mindset. But what I want to also leave you with today is to think about those sustainable development goals. Which ones are you really passionate about? Because when you understand the goals, and for us, it's responsible consumption and production, definitely climate action, definitely no poverty, definitely gender equality. I mean, there's probably 11 or 12 of those that I would say, like, definitely. And as intense as that might be, we are about industry, innovation and infrastructure, decent work and economic growth. And when you understand the SDGs at their core, it starts to ground you as a business to then be not negotiable on your vision. And it really helps you stay focused when all the noise around you is trying to trick you to start to spin out of control. You have to doggedly ignore it. You need to commit and understand that sacrifices will need to be made. We can see significant opportunity, $46 billion worth of underutilized stuff in Australia. All the metrics are there. This is kind of the boring stuff. The numbers are important. If you've got a valid, valuable market that you're working in, the numbers are important and you need to understand them very diligently, but don't let them drive your decisions. For us, so much of what we wanted to do didn't exist. So we decided to create it because we believe in impossible. We don't believe in can't and won't. And we believe in yes, saying yes and working out how to do it along the way. And I often say to my team, we jump off the cliff, the parachutes on our back, but we have no idea whether or not it's actually going to open. And that's okay, because when you surround yourself with the right people, and you've got great friends and family and advisors and humans connecting at a core, you will always be okay, even when you feel like you're not. So effectively, I mean, we do all the re's, re-love, reuse, repurpose. You can read them all there. And for our organization, there's so much more about what we can do, not what we can't. And you can see here, there's a group of people that either volunteer or work with us. We do have communities and businesses come in and do some volunteering. And we teach this very basic formula: effort plus execution equals evolution. This means, and I was impressed and inspired at the beginning, 4th year chemical engineer. My gosh, my brain just went, wow, this woman is so intelligent. And these are the people we need in our business. We also need intelligence that is not academic. And sometimes in our team with 30 odd people now, some of our uneducated team members feel diminished because they might not have the degrees or the capabilities or the 25 years experience or whatever else they see, because comparison is the thief of joy. And we want to ensure that our team knows 2 things: your effort and your execution. Do you get up and come to work and get here on time? And do you pick up things? Do you execute? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you get shit done? As they say in the startup world, GSD. If you do effort and execution, you will evolve every day. And for me, I don't care how fast or how slow it is, as long as you're slightly better today than yesterday. Did you make one decision today that improved on yesterday's decisions? Every single day, regardless of your pedigree, regardless of your history, regardless of your trauma, regardless of anything you might have experienced, because we all have. Effort plus execution equals evolution. And we also say this, keeping it real, right? We love the re's. Real is one of our other re's, and it's a lot less show real and a lot more real. This is definitely, if you go and look at our social media, we are killing it. We are awesome. We can get awards and it's fan-bloody-tastic. However, the real, I remember winning the Lord Mayor's Business Award one night on a Friday, and my husband had to not attend the event and the ceremony. So we didn't even know we were going to win, and he wasn't there to celebrate. He was in New Zealand because his father was terminally ill. I then got a call the next day. My mum was also unwell, but we weren't expecting her to pass away, but I got the phone call saying she was unresponsive. So we win the award Friday. I get the call Saturday. I fly back from Melbourne. My mum passes away Monday. My father-in-law passes away Wednesday. And then 2 weeks later, we're having a world's biggest garage sale that we just won the award for. And I'm sitting there going, what do I do? How do we keep going? This is the real. Shit happens and bad things happen every single day. And we just need to accept it and not let it spin us out of control. It's really, really, really important. You don't just look at the show reel. Please understand that everybody is hurting. Everybody is experiencing difficulty. And even those of us that project personalities of positivity, it still hurts. We still suffer. We just don't sit in the suffering. And it's not to diminish the challenges we all go through, because we all go through challenges. We all go through challenges, but it's in the time we spend in those challenges that defines us. I really do want to finish by just talking a little bit about love. Love feels weird to say is a value. Love feels weird to talk about in business. But do you love your family? Yes, you do. Would you do anything for them? Maybe most of them. Yes, you would. Do you love things, stuff, people, your job even? Yet when we walk to work, a lot of us have been raised with this mentality that we must not cry, we must not show emotion, we must not hurt, we must not love. I fiercely love some of the people I work with. I fiercely would fight for them like my family. And we absolutely hug, we hope, we hurt, we cry, we feel. And we all bring our feelings to work, even though in the past we might have been taught otherwise. If we don't show the human side of who we are in the business, where I've spent more time with Wasim from my team than I have my family in the last 18 months. I have the time I've spent with my husband, my 15-year-old daughter, and my almost 14-year-old daughter collectively in the last 500 days would be less than the time I have spent with Wasim in my office at work here to grow our social enterprise. Feel the love. Social entrepreneurs need to drive the feeling and passion in a business that really does evolve us. And I talked briefly before about GSD for the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. If you don't already know and love them, please, this is social enterprise heaven and haven. But know that these words, someone asked me this year, what's your word of the year? And I don't have a word of the year. I have a letter, and obviously the letter is G. My surname is Grigaliunas. All of these words form a part of the recipe of who I am: the grit, the grunt, the grind, but the gentle, the grace and the gratitude, and the genuine goodness and growth. These are all words that drive every decision that's made in our social enterprise as we continue to forge the way to a commercial profit for purpose entity. There is no planet B. We started very small a year and a half ago as a team of 4, then a team of 6. And today we're a team of over 30 staff that are funded by our own growth, because we got gritty and we got grunty, but we stayed true to the goodness of who we are as a social enterprise throughout that entire evolution. For us as a business, there is no time to waste. We don't believe in waste. We believe in resources, and we believe that the resources are not just the stuff, but the stuff that we're made of as well. And when you combine those things together, you can create a magic that you might not have otherwise thought was possible. Thank you.
Thank you. That was quite powerful, and I found that very intriguing. I have a lot of questions to ask you in a bit, but I'll just quickly hand over to Andy if you also want to share your screen and give your intro.
Yeah, g'day guys. How are you doing? Thank you for housing me on this lovely little panel. Sorry, hello Yaz. Haven't seen you in probably a week. I'm actually on my mobile today. I do apologize. Technical difficulties, all the fun stuff. So if I could just get someone to click through for the slides, that would be great. I am Andy Galloway. So you got me, Megan. Thank you.
I got you.
I am Andy Galloway. I do run YUMM Confectionery. We are a Queensland-based social enterprise based here in Brisbane. Started out in Newstead. So who are we? 2017 ideation phase. They had a couple of bright doctors and a couple of bright entrepreneurs had a lovely little idea that there was not enough of the early intervention mental health and wellness proactive kind of stuff available in the out in the marketplace. Funnily enough, they found two pieces of data. One piece of data was that 18 to 35s is the age for which you are most likely to generate your mental health problem. So you're moving out of school, you're starting a new job, moving out of university, you're starting a new job, you may be purchasing a house, kids, all this life change and all these opportunities pretty much for you to be able to develop some kind of traumatic experience, they say. So 18 to 35 is that prime area for which they target. 18 to 35 also has the highest, 18 to 35 is the highest consumers of bite-sized confectionery. Now, they took those two figures and they crossed them over and said, well, if we've got the highest consumers of bite-sized confectionery and we have the highest likelihood of developing a mental health disorder, so why don't we combine them? This is kind of true in many ways, and it's a great way to kind of segue into the idea of why YUMM came about. Let me just put a little footnote in there though. 18 to 35s are also the highest consumers of adult toys. So we could technically also be an adult toy company if we wanted to use those figures. I think the thing to think about here and to understand on... Oh, hello, who was that? Oh, well. And the thing to kind of understand here is that confectionery or chocolate is a really easy, non-confrontational way to get into people's lives. And to be frank, it's probably a little harder to sell people adult toys, especially in a corporate environment, when it comes to delivering mental health tools and resources. So we are a small team based here in Brisbane. We are a mental wellness company. So what we do is we produce content and the sales out of here of Brisbane. We have a chocolate manufacturer who works with us out of Mansfield, little family-owned business. We chose them because purely I can get on the phone and talk to my lovely lady Lorena, who is literally answering my call as she's pumping out the chocolate for us. It's a family-owned business. They're absolute legends. And I really like that contact. So for us, as part of our supply chain, having that contact with the person who's making our chocolate really is a feel good for us. And obviously supporting a Queensland family business as well. Our stickers are made here in Brisbane, and we get all of our stickering and processing done at Help Enterprises at Eagle Farm. So they're a disability support workforce, subsidised by the government, obviously, and what they do is they put all of our stickers and put all our chocolates into boxes or pouches, depending on what the orders are. Look, the big thing behind chocolate, as I said, is around those emotive feelings. It's about discovering a little bit of YUMM me time. It's about having that little treat. It's about self-care. It's about self-love. And it's about kind of engaging, taking a moment in your day to engage with mental health and wellness. If you'd like to move me on to the next slide, thanks. So what do? So our chockies are pretty simple. They're a little 12-gram piece of choc. Each one has a positive, actionable message on it. Now, this positive, actionable message comes from a greater piece of content that we create with either a lived experience. Put a little footnote there because I will tell you how important lived experience is for mental health and wellness, as well as experts in the industry. So mental health, as you probably understand, is made up of so many different areas. You can go to trained psychologists, dietitians, nutritionists, sports coaches. There is just so many pieces of, so many experts and professionals out there who are delving into this area now that we never wanted to play that role. Our role is engagement. Our role is getting this out to people, giving free access to these tools for people, not to be the expert. So that was a very critical thing for us. So our marketing team goes out and they interview these people, people like Donna Thistlethwaite, who's part of the 5% Club. Unfortunately, that's a really horrible club to be part of, which is the 5% who jump off the Story Bridge here in Brisbane and live. Now, she's gone ahead and made a whole life of how to help other people and has attributed the rest of her life to doing this and speaking and creating mental health first aid courses for organizations. We spoke to her and we developed a piece of content around how good it feels when you help someone else. Now, that then goes on our little piece of chocolate as a positive actionable message, which is help one person every day. That's actually not this one, but it does go on one of our chocolates. Now, let's say this chocolate is sitting in your tea room at your office. And then what happens is that you pick it up and you read it, you have a chocolate, it's 2:30 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock, hit that sugar, cup of coffee, whatever it might be. 9 days out of 10, this chocolate means nothing more than that to you. And we're happy for that. We're totally cool with that being okay with just your sugar hit. Day number 10, and you might just read that message and it feels something for you. It might correlate to you a little bit. So then you can scan that QR code and it'll take you to the corresponding piece of content from that article, from that pan. All of our content is free. It's available to anyone if they happen to come onto the website. These are obviously just our little engagement tools to make sure that everyone gets on the website and starts having a read of them. The big thing that we do there is that we try and encourage people to build their own resilience toolbox. So we use tips, tricks, resources, tools. They're 5-minute reads. They're easygoing. They're not hard. They're meant for on the bus on the way home. They're meant for smoko. They're meant for, moments of personal time. Our ideal scenario is exactly that. Someone comes and picks it up in a tea room somewhere. They eat the chocolate and then go, I'm just going to stash the wrapper for later because it means something to them, but they want to engage with it in their own private time. So on the way home in the bus, they jump their phone out, scan it, have a little read. It was just a little something about maybe breathing to get through little bits of anxiety, or how actually stress is actually really positive because it's a natural way for your body to deal with heightened situations. And then it can be a very big, a positive in your life, but you got to manage it. So just being able to give people little tips and tools to help them slowly over time build their own resilience toolbox. You'll hear me talk over and over again about the idea that mental health is not negative. It's not a problem. And that is really our job at YUMM, is to help people move into that next space, to reframe mental health and mental wellness as competitive advantage, as being able to use it as a proactive way, as a strength, as a way of being able to say that you're ahead of your game. Let's talk about it and I'm just going to go off center for a little bit. Let's talk about physical health. You do not go to the gym every day because you've got a problem or because you have an injury. You go to the gym every day, you go for a walk, whatever your physical activity is, to continually build up your strength or maintain your strength. So tell me, if you have a good day, what do you do for your mental health on that day? versus what do you do for your mental health on a bad day? Is there a difference? Now, because when you go to the gym every day, it's not because you've torn your hamstring. In fact, you leave the gym if you've torn your hamstring, because it's not a good idea to keep working that muscle. However, you turn up every day and do your squats so that you don't tear your hamstring at your Friday night touch football game, right? So why don't we start thinking about mental health in that proactive kind of space? Let's start building our resilience toolbox. Let's start getting all these proactive little measures that we can do for ourselves, so that when we come to a stressful part, we go, hold up, I know how to deal with stress. I go back to what I remembered, and bang, I've got the answer. So that's my little sideways. How do we do it? Cool. As I said, we're all about promoting the non-invasive way through chocolate. I don't know many people who don't accept a piece of chocolate. I don't know many people who deny a free piece of chocolate, especially if they're sitting in their workplaces. It's 12 grams. I have not found a dietitian in this country who will not tell me that I cannot have this once a day. We recommend twice a day. No, once a day is probably okay. But the idea being that it's only a small little sugar hit. You know, it is a dietary faux pas to eat chocolate every day, but it's only 12 grams. And if it's helping your mental health, then, you know, whatever. I'll argue to the point on that. And the final step of our little chocolates is that then we take a money, and I noticed that question number 1 was about transparency, and I'll leave that for the panel once we get to it. But part of the way that we measure our impact is we measure people who come onto our website and read our articles. That's impact measurement number 1. Impact measurement number 2 is how many people then stay and transfer onto different articles, because that tells us that people are actually reading them and interested in building their own toolbox. Impact number 3 is then how many people click through to support services, because the idea being that we can enter their lives through a piece of chocolate, and that actually they can end up on Lifeline, on TX, or, you know, one of these support services. It is really fantastic to think that chocolate can do that, but more to the point that we can do that as a part of an engagement with mental health. But that leaves us with a cliff edge. And this is the problem that we, I guess, hadn't really fixed until last year. Gotta love COVID. We weren't supporting the end supporters. So we were pushing all these people through these beautiful funnels, which was saying, you know, you need to seek help, you need to get help, and great. But we weren't supporting people on the other end. So now we've established relationships with all of the major providers, and continue to work with non-for-profits in raising money for non-for-profit support services in the mental health space. Now, that might be someone like the Stand By You Foundation, which, look them up, fabulous organization. They run the little shield program for DV, domestic violence. Amazing. Chris Boyle's a weapon. He's a legend. I'll promote him any day of the week if you ask me. Probably even if you don't ask me, I'll still promote him. So we raise money for them, for example, as part of our stuff. We also do things like, we're about to run a big campaign for Wear It Purple Day coming up, and 10% of all those profits will go to Q Life, which is a LGBTIQ plus support service for mental health. So very targeted little segment of society that when they call the phone line for that, it's obviously mental health support that is relevant to them, just like TX is for blue collar workers. And on to why we do it. I could talk all day. Why do we do it? Why do we do social enterprise? Why don't we just sell guns and ammo? Good question. Look, YUMM is committed to providing free mental wellness tools and resources. We think that that's just something that everyone should have access to. We have a digital age for which everyone can get access to Wikipedias and all sorts of things. So why shouldn't we have access to being able to better ourselves every day, especially when it comes to mental health space? In terms of a timeliness, it's 2021. 2020 was probably the highest. You can see all the tick boxes with DV, with mental health disorders, with, you know, anxiety, stress, you know, Lifeline calls. through the roof on all charts. It's the time now to be saying it's more than okay just to recognize a problem. And this is where I'll tap back into that lived experience. There have been so many people come forward and say, I have a mental health problem, that now it is more acceptable and it is available for individuals to be able to do it. And that's fantastic. That is the most amazing platform for which we can launch a company like us off. Now, the next stage is saying, how do we avoid problems? Because the awareness and lived experience around problems, we understand now. There are people out there just like you and me who go through this. So what's the next stage? When the Broncos keep having hamstring tears, they don't say, oh, good on all you boys for keeping on talking about hamstring tears and keep on spending time on the bench. That's great of you all. No, they get onto their sports coaches and they say, why are our boys tearing their hamstrings? Get them in, strength, testing, whatever. Let's get them lifting more weights, doing more strength, blah, blah, blah. I don't know about sports like that. But the moral of the story is we are in that next stage now of mental health and wellness. And that's why we're doing it, because there's an opportunity there. There's a big opportunity to start taking that next step around building a resilient community. It's a big one. It's a big one, building a resilient community. I just want to touch upon something that Yaz said earlier about, love. And I was at a Men's Health Week, 12th of June conference with Mark Occhilupo, Dr. Clive Williams, run by Blokepedia. And the number one take home from that was that we are no longer expected to leave our emotions at the door. I can remember turning up, and I'm 35 soon. And even in my generation, turning up to a workplace and people saying, okay, I don't care what you've got going on at home. You're about to start your shift. Leave it there. Don't bring it into the workplace. That doesn't exist anymore. And the idea then that it doesn't exist, but that the workplace is not a safe space. So we're expected to bring it to work. Sorry, we're allowed to bring it to work now, but it's not a safe space for us to engage such raw emotion in many cases. I'm not saying that's world's greatest stuff, but I certainly think that there's a disparity there between a safe organization, a safe place for you to be able to share such things and to be emotionally open and raw, and the availability or what we're being told is okay. So that's probably something that we like to kind of work through and work on at the moment is around creating those safe organizations, those safe cultures as well. That's probably a bigger piece of work though that we don't have time for today. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell. Please let me know if you'd like to have any little chocolate sample packs sent to your workplaces. I'd love to be involved. And yes, hello.
Definitely, Andy. Well, I'll get in touch with you on that.
Yep.
Thank you so much for your intro. It was very powerful, and I can see your passion for mental health, and it's really great seeing both of you being so passionate about it and really trying to make some change in the space. So thank you for doing that. I will get into the panel questions. So from the chat, Fiona has been asking quite a few questions. So we'll get onto them one by one. Let me bring up the questions. All right, so first question, Andy mentioned briefly, how do the social enterprises manage to operate with transparency? Whoever likes to
well, yeah, I mean, I think transparency is key right from the start. I remember Mark Salby, the first chief entrepreneur, saying to me when I jumped ship and went all in, whatever you do, just be honest, just tell the truth, just be authentic. And I mean, it sits so well with me. I'm extremely honest, transparent, and sometimes too honest and transparent. And I'd rather be undone by honesty and transparency than be undone by the opposite of that. So I feel that Yeah, I think I've got a little acronym called THAT, right? THAT, do that. Trust, honesty, authenticity, and tenacity, because you just can't give up on that. So for me, it's just about if every decision I make is with those 4 little reminders, then I stand by myself and I'm happy to just do that.
I love your acronyms, by the way.
I try and make it easy for people to understand, right? Because I just would like, I'm a real, like, I'm very coachable. I'm extremely forthright and assertive, but I'm very coachable as well. So I love people telling me what to do. I genuinely do love people telling me what to do. So when they tell me what to do and I trust them and they have pedigree or experience or lived experience in that area, I'm like, oh my God, I have to do what they say. I'm going to be so obedient and do it. So I try and make things easy for people to understand so that they can save the time between getting the advice and executing. So if you make it easy to eat, Andy, I definitely want some chocolates. Then it makes things easier.
Yep. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Look, I think it's a really hard one in the context of social enterprise. If you take a for-profit company, they have to report profit to shareholders. That's their transparency. How did you achieve profit? We made it. Cool. Well done. Tick. Transparent. In terms of a non-for-profit, if you're talking about a charitable service delivery non-for-profit, they have to show donation went into service. The donation was $5 million. The service cost us $4.5 million plus admin. And that's the transparency. These, that's as easy as it comes. I think social enterprise falls into a bit of a trap. And mind you, I say this once again with a little footnote that the Queensland Social Enterprise Council is doing so much great work to boost social enterprise in Queensland, and to catch up with the other states a little bit. But that to give social enterprise an authenticity or an integrity that says, actually, we don't just measure by profit, we measure service delivery and we measure impact. I'll take you back to my first ever annual report that I read from Joe Barakat, Swinburne University, wrote it for Luke Terry out of Vanguard Laundry, right? And I've probably just dropped like 5 of the biggest names in social enterprise, mind you, but hey, I'm here for a good time. Now, the interesting thing about that is that Vanguard Laundry is a long-term mental health displaced. Vanguard Laundry is for people who have been out of work for a long time due to mental health problems. So in and out of jobs over a long series of times. Now, the thing about this is that they flipped the model where they said, instead of trying to provide them with a full-time job when they're not ready, and watching them burn out over a series of months and then go through that cycle again of then sitting, more counseling, more therapy, get them up to a stage where they're trying to work a full-time job again. They go in, they burn out, and out they go. Luke Terry and the team said, well, let's give them 2 hours a week. Let's give them 4 hours a day if that's all they want. Let's start building their autonomy, their self-respect. Suddenly they've got money, which means that they can, feel responsible. They're starting to meet their own bills. Suddenly, you have an individual who's growing in self-respect for themselves so much faster, and it lowers the amount of time that it spends that they spend on the couch with the therapists and the counselors, etc. So, as a social impact outcome, they've just reduced the amount of time that this person is spending to get back into the workforce, which means trauma and everything like that along those lines. So for individuals and for impact, they're helping people to get back into full-time work and therefore being more autonomous and building their self-respect. But let's talk about then,
yes.
But then let's talk about the real factor, which everyone likes to tick then, which is that Joe Barakat and the Swinburne Tech said that each individual that goes through Vanguard Laundry, each successful individual who goes from being unemployable to being able to maintain some kind of steady employment ongoing, is reducing the Australian taxpayers' Medicare bill by over $200,000. So that is a financial outcome that everyone suddenly goes, oh yeah, I understand that. That's amazing. That's my tax dollars, right? Those who don't have social capacity. But there's also the social impact value, which is that you are changing the lives of people through their needs by just flipping a system, by just changing a model a little bit so that individuals can be able to participate effectively.
But Andy,
So,
could they also be themselves? Because this
totally.
mindset of you must fit into this corporate role and responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, I shared an article I wrote about my daughter. My daughter has been in a mental health institution. She was 14 at the time. I got the call from the school saying she's planned her end of life, and oh my God, what an experience. Talk about real. This all happened like recently in the last 6 months. And my daughter is just one example of teenagers struggling with mental health. It's not an illness. She does not have a disease. This girl just has a experience of challenge in her life that my job, not just as a parent, but as a decent human being, is to not shun or shunt her or shame her for her illness. That no box. I mean, I remember the day that I had to pick her up from school. It was very traumatic. I had ambulance, all sorts of things, terrible. But I talk very openly about it. My husband had a breakdown a number of years ago. I'm extremely lived experience, not personally, but in my very close, tight-knit family. And the mental health, supports needed are not enough to support the people that need the support, which is why I'm so passionate about social enterprise. But my daughter is under 16, so there's no private facility. I can't take her somewhere to help her. She has to go through the public system. And they diagnosed her acute on the night I took her in, then told me they had no beds and that I had to take her home. So let me tell you, they got to see the real that night. I did not take her home. And we ended up, how awful for her, we ended up, because of my capability to understand that I wasn't going to take my daughter home, many parents would have taken their children home that night. And my question is, would their children have lived? Because I was not going to take my daughter home under any circumstances. And they ended up finding her a bed in Robina. So my poor little 14-year-old at the time daughter, going through the mental health challenges. She didn't know what was going on. The poor little thing in a state of challenge, shipped off in an ambulance to Robina because Brisbane didn't have a bed for her that night. Not okay, guys. So for me, anything this and the school the next morning, all the girls were told Layla's in a mental hospital, and not okay. And so that's what provoked me to write that article. I've shared it in the chat. Please read it. And with permission from Layla, I share it. And with permission from Layla, I talk about this because she is not. There's nothing wrong with her. Nothing. She is going to be one of the most strong and resilient members of our community. We just have to get her through these challenging times with support and love and connection. And what Luke does and QSEC are doing and Andy is doing and Tyax are doing and all of the other people you just mentioned are doing is allowing us to understand that it's okay to not be okay. And that there's nothing wrong with us.
I just like to add, I read that article when you posted on LinkedIn a few months ago when you first published it. And I thought, wow, she did that. And I'm sure your daughter and many other children, including me, as a young person, after reading that, it's really affecting and it's really impactful. So it was great that you were doing that.
My daughter said to me when I sent her I said, I'm going to write an article. I want to send it to you. I won't publish without your permission. And when she read it, do you know what she said to me? She said, wow, you really think I'm good, Mum? You really think that of me? And I said, what does it make you feel? She said, it makes me feel like there's nothing wrong with me. I said, there is nothing wrong with you. There is not. The world is not built. Schools are not built to support young people that don't fit in. Andy, the box you did it. There is no box. Let's shatter the box. There is no freaking box.
That's amazing insight. So I'm just being aware of time, like to maybe get through a few more questions. That was very powerful, and I'm sure a lot of people in the audience must have found very meaningful. So a question regarding the team. So I also noted when Yasmin was going through your intro that finding the right team, being supportive for each other, that's absolutely essential. How do you go about finding the right team for social enterprise?
Oh, look, there's absolutely an alignment. We have 30 odd people now, and on the way in, they see the real. It's no 3 interviews that I am like, this is what it's like. Don't believe what you see in the media. Yes, we're awesome, and that's really good. But if you're coming for just a fun time, this is not like we're a startup. We're scaling up. We're actually a high growth, small to medium enterprise. We just happen to have social at our core, and what gets measured gets done. We have metrics to achieve, but Andy, not without the love, the commitment, the person. Like, we make decisions that are just not right for the financial spreadsheet sometimes. And we expect people to try before they buy. We'll pay people to come and spend a day, a week, whatever, because if they don't like it during a come and intern or come and get a feel or go talk to the team and learn the real, then we don't, if it makes you hesitate at that point, you're going to hate it here, because we are in that very complex space of, yes, we want to support and we bend over backwards for our team. And there's a lot of flexibility and agility. We don't just follow we follow all the rules, but we don't constrict to the rules. But we still business still has to get done. So we are very authentic. We just tell people how it is. We're honest, we're real. And if anything, I'm probably a little bit overcompensating the difficulty that this is not a cruise here. You will work hard. You'll work harder than you've ever worked in your entire life, but you'll work smart. You'll learn things. And I expect anybody that comes within the enterprise of what we are, and I make no apologies for it, there's multiple guarantees in life, taxes and change. You will change here. You will grow here. And if you don't want to change or grow, then this is not the place for you. Please don't come in.
Yeah, so the process is like, it's a both way selection. You show them what they're in for and they see it, and they also need to make the decision. So that's very good advice. I'm also just trying to keep on track with all the questions coming in. Maybe the next one for Andy: how does someone start a social enterprise and what is the process?
I think
very big question.
And I think Yaz is probably the perfect example of this, which is find something that you desperately want to fix, and then find a business model to make it happen. The nature of it is that social enterprise is like any other business. If you have a passion for coffee, go find the coffee shop that you want to have. That was my first business. It was absolute bloody slavery, but it was a good, fun business. I built a lovely community around me, and it's what led me into social enterprise. I hate to quote Steve Baxter, but the best thing he's ever said in my presence is just go do it. Come bring me something that you've already done. Don't bring me something you want to do. And the nature of that is that if you see a problem that you want to fix, if you want to fix no plastic in the world, if you want to, see more support services for anything, just go do it. Go find a way to do it.
You can quote Nike next time, just do it. I don't need to quote Steve anymore.
And the first time you think of what you want to solve and what you want to do, and if you're desperate enough, add me, talk to me, call us, add everybody in the industry that you want to be in, and just go absolutely bloody hard at it. I have 2 rules, which is advocacy and collaboration, and I kind of live by those. I will happily blow anybody else's horn purely for the fact that I know that one day someone will hopefully blow mine. And the other one is that collaboration. If I can do anything for which makes the greater outcome better, awesome. So just get involved, get into it. It's like any other business. It's a for-profit business. So legally, for-profit business, just set it up like a PTYT, LTD, and figure out your model, your business model. And then if you want to set up a non-for-profit on the other side of that as well, you can. But you just have to operate like a normal company.
All right.
Just sits within your constitution.
Yeah. or just do it. Great advice. That's also what I say all the time. So I guess trying to fit the last question in the next 3 minutes before we end the session. How valuable do you think it is to have an entrepreneurial mindset? As Yasmin previously mentioned, and I see her eyes just light up. How valuable is this entrepreneurial mindset, and how do you develop it, and how do you see it in other people?
Andy, I'm just like loving you. I tell you what, if ever my business fails, and it's still no guarantee in life, I just want to work with people like Andy. So, you know, you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And if you don't, go learn it. And if you don't have it, go find someone. If you've got the idea and you're like pure play tech, you don't have the entrepreneurial mindset, but you have the capabilities, go be someone's number two. And it's perfectly fine to do that, because I'm at two minds. It can be taught, but you'll learn lessons. But the essence, the drive, the midnight, you know, shit, I got to do this, even though I might not want to. An entrepreneur never questions it. Go and watch things like The Founder, the Macca's story. Go and watch things like Apple and Steve Jobs. Go read some of the really early things on Elon and all the other crazies that go out and do this. Whether you like them or not, you don't have to like them. And a pure entrepreneur will be both loved and loathed.
I think just find something you love and then figure out a way to make it your life. In that sense, and that sounds really cliche, but like I got 2 daughters right now, and I'm trying to think how I'm going to navigate them through the coming world. And it's like, for me, it's find something you love and then go study every little bit of it. And the second part of that, I think, is get used to being uncomfortable, because that's kind of part of what this entrepreneurial mindset is. It's constantly finding that way to start an awkward conversation, to networking events that are bloody horrible, to pitching, oh yuck, horrible, making you do pitch decks and PowerPoint and standing up there in front of 300 people that have actually no interest in what you're doing, but somehow you're going to tell them all about your brave new idea. And just get used to being uncomfortable with all of that and continually growing, because I think that's more important about being uncomfortable and being okay with being uncomfortable than anything else.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just going to quickly add to that. So me being an entrepreneur, I'm doing engineering, so uncomfortable with pitching and communicating and networking. One piece of really good advice I got was just go to one networking event every week and just do it. And I started off sitting in the corner looking at how people talked, but now I guess I can communicate like any other person. So yeah, it's all about stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing it, quoting Nike this time. It's reaching 11 a.m. So that will be the end of the session. Should I pass it back to Akanksha to close off the session? And also there are a few questions in the question Q&A. If you guys want to quickly type a short answer to these questions, be very much appreciated. But also there are a lot of thank you and amazing comments in the chat. So I'll just summarize. You guys have been an amazing panel. Thank you so much for your insights, and I love what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having us. It's really great to kind of have a voice to all this.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your time, and thank you Rachel for moderating this event so amazingly, and thank you Andy and Yasmin. I was just awestruck. I was just thinking, making notes. Okay, that means even I can become an entrepreneur. It's not that. I mean, it is very inspiring. At the same time, I feel like, oh, even I can do it if I have an idea and I have the whole drive to make a change in the social or make some social impact, but yeah, thank you so much. It's evident from the chats, everyone is just thanking you all. And yeah, we're definitely on time right now, so probably get 15 minutes of break and then head off to the next session. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye Andy, bye
Thanks
Yasmin.
everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.